There we go, a little Simcha break right there. Amazing. So friends, at Rosh Hashanah, we're here to start our new year and to do so in a really intentional way. This idea of malchut, of being clear on a sovereignty, on a framework that is larger than ourselves. And to recommitting to that sovereignty that's bigger than ourselves, a framework we can commit to and believe in that moves us through our year, that helps us in everyday small decisions and helps us in how we see the world around us. That idea of malchut, to center in our deepest values, is central to what we do at Nefesh all year round. When people ask, how do you describe Nefesh? That is a hard question, and if you have a great description, I'd love to hear it. But one of the things, there's many things, one of the things we say about Nefesh is that we are midot-driven. We are a midot-driven community. And the midot are our deepest values. The deepest values, things like chesed, kindness, things like rachamim, compassion, tzedek, justice. This is who we are. We are midot driven, inside and in the world around us. And what that means for us is that we don't just say that, but we do that. So that means that we look at the midot, our deepest values in the Jewish tradition, and just to be clear, the things I just said about kindness, justice, compassion, these are shared, these are world values, right? They don't just belong to the Jewish people. And in our tradition, though, we cling to them. We cling to these values, and the focus on our values in this way, the current, I'd say, inside the Jewish tradition that has that special look, that jump into and focus on our values look, is called musar. And that is what we are doing together as a community in so many ways throughout the year. And because it is so precious and important to us, on Rosh Hashanah, we have a practice, and I was thinking about when this started, and I think it was the first time we got to have Nefesh High Holidays when we were still at Wilshire Boulevard Temple, where I was a rabbi, and that's where Nefesh was coming together. That was 2016. We broke into groups to choose a midah. And from there, this practice has been growing and growing in our community. And today, again, we are going to break into groups, and each of us is going to choose a midah that we want to have as a center point, a focal point for this year of 5784. Aren't they all connected to each other? Of course they're all interconnected to each other. They're all interconnected to each other. And when we focus on one and we dive deep, it really informs how we are living in all kinds of ways. We say that we sing a fourfold song at Nefesh. This is based on Rav Kook's teaching, and slightly changed to say that we take each midah, no matter what it is, and we think about how it lives inside of ourselves, in our own domain, how it affects how we relate to our beloveds interpersonally, how it affects community, and how it affects how we see the world. Some of you know that I was raised by just incredibly beautiful, committed, radical social justice organizers and activists, so committed to community and transformation. And in those realms of where I was raised, I found myself a really spiritual little kid talking about things like God, which was not really a hot topic. And really also concerned about the inner life. And the inner life wasn't always so elevated. And then as I went out into the world to dance professionally, I kept seeking out spiritual communities, and I would be disappointed because the ones that felt so beautifully connected into the internal life didn't seem to care very much at all about what was going on in the world around. And so part of the longing was to have a practice that integrated inner and outer. And there are some of you I know who do incredible inner work, and so maybe this is the year to think more about the world around you, and others of you who really focus on the world around you, and this might be a year to connect to inner or interpersonal, and all of us to connect to community. So how do we do that? We take a midah and we do 3 parts with it. We learn about it. That's the first step. We learn what is inside of this midah. I like to imagine that we literally stretch it open and we jump inside the midah to learn about it. We look at our Jewish texts of all kinds, Talmud and Torah, and also specific texts that are known as Musar texts that talk about this particular midah. Because there is a special and unique Jewish take to these midot. They are shared, but we also have our unique take to them. And the next step is awareness. We look around ourselves, our lives, and we say, how does this show up? How does this particular midah show up in my life? And maybe I'll journal or I'll talk to somebody. And I think that a lot of people think that's where it ends. I read about it, I study, I think about it. Sometimes when I ask people about this third part, which is called practice, how's your practice going? Usually starts with words like, well, I've been thinking about. That's not practice. Practice is when we do it. We put it into practice in our lives. That's what makes Musar unique, that we're doing it. We're not just thinking about this value, we're doing it. And there's so many different ways into practice. So give me an example. Okay, Simcha, this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. And then Ivdu et Hashem b'simcha. That is inside of our tradition's teaching on the idea of Simcha, on joy. Joy, indeed, is a midah that you could choose, if you wanted, there are many, to focus your year on. And what is it about joy? How is joy of value to practice? Well, let's think about joy, especially today, because it's Shabbat and Rosh Hashanah together. This is why I wanted to talk about Simcha. I also wanted to talk about Simcha today because often the high holidays we don't necessarily associate with joy, which I understand. I understand that. There are many experiences to have. But I think part of the disconnect is that we have a sort of surface level of what joy is. Happy, I'm not talking about happy, I'm talking about joy. I'm talking about Simcha. So one space of Simcha in our tradition is around time, feeling joy in time. And when I say it's not the same as like happy up here, it's because many of you might know about Jewish history and most of it's not been happy up here. It's been times of struggle and deep oppression and difficulty. And yet, over and over and over and over again, our people celebrate, declare, embrace Simcha, joy. Joy in time. That's one approach to joy. Joy in time. When we're going to a wedding or a baby naming or a special event, it's literally called the Simcha. Like if somebody says, where are you going? I'm going to joy. Other details? Well, it's a wedding, yeah. I'm going to joy. I'm going to a Simcha. And that is when we say, we carve a container in time and we say we're going to celebrate joy in this moment. We're going to experience joy in this moment. It doesn't mean that there aren't things that are challenging all around us. There are. Joy is a choice. This joy that I have, the world didn't give to me, and the world can't take it away. Joy is often a liberatory choice, a choice of liberation to declare a moment joyful. Every week we declare Shabbat joyful. Does that mean that the whole week was fantastic and next week might be too? We don't know. But right now, we are celebrating. Right now, we are experiencing deep joy, and no one can take that away from us. So that's one way, joy in time. The other way is joy in service. Ivdu et Hashem b'simcha. Serve the divine with joy. Serve the divine with joy. Service could mean how we actually pray and celebrate. Avodah is from that same ivdu. It means like the service, the worship. Maybe some of you have noticed that we like that here. Ivdu et Hashem b'simcha, to serve in sacred ways through joy. Service also is what we can do for each other, to be of service to each other. One of the most profound ways of experiencing Simcha is through serving others. Ongoing, deep, lasting joy is in serving others. So we're going to learn about a midah. We find out, what is this Ivdu et Hashem b'simcha? What are other ways? What does it mean that on Shabbat we have oneg, delight, and we have joy? What does it mean on Shabbat that we're supposed to have sex and enjoy our bodies and drink food that we like? Pleasure. Pleasure is part of joy in the Jewish tradition. Yes, the rabbi just said sex. We have to remember to keep pulling apart that which is not our tradition, which we live amongst. We live inside of a Christian hegemony, so we have to continue to remember what is it that is our tradition that we can claim. Pleasure, bodies, for celebration, for joy. Joy in time, joy in service. Oh, friends, there is so much more I want to tell you about joy, but this is just the intro to get you into your midot groups. I will tell you that we're also in time in this beautiful arc that's taking us from Rosh Hashanah to the holiday after Yom Kippur that's known as Zman Simchatenu, the season of our joy, which is Sukkot. So we're in this journey from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur and all the work and important reflection and deep work we do on ourselves in order to enter into a season of joy, a festival of joy. Joy in time. When we're not feeling it, the tradition says, here it is. Now's the time. I want to be clear. I want to make sure not to not say this. I'm not telling you you have to be falsely, what Barbara Ehrenreich would call bright-sided, a sort of false, forced positivity, especially for people dealing with diagnosis or treatment of any kind, where you're supposed to stay positive. I only say that in that voice because I went through that, so I get to say that. That's not what I'm talking about. Grief, despair, anger, such important emotions that have so much to teach us. And we also get to cultivate joy, simcha, on purpose, intentionally, and practice it over and over again. Joy in time, joy in service, joy in release. There's also joy in not doing things, assumptions, patterns, habits that we've been told we have to do, and joy in so many ways. So we learn, we have awareness. How does joy show up in my life? Do I have a joy tolerance where at some point I'm like, that's enough joy? Because some of us do. What is it about myself? And then how do I practice joy? What would joy practices look like? What would that look like in my life amongst the people I know to say, hey, I'm working on joy this year? How about we jump up and down on Friday nights? Okay, I know a place you could go do that. Or any other things around art and beauty and touch and celebration that can help us cultivate joy. So that is just one midah, just an example. There is a world inside of all of the midot that you're